Good morning from me, and good evening to you too.
Yeah, good evening. Hi, Gregor. Great to have you on the channel.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for joining. I think this is our third time doing a live stream
Yeah,
together.
think so. Every
Yeah,
year.
first time. Pretty much. Yeah, exactly. Well, good to have you back on. At least between us as a live stream, and first time on to the second channel that I have as well. So it's always nice to have an opportunity to get you back on to share all the up and coming features that you continue to evolve with the product and the kind of the platform that you've been building around the tools that you develop.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work in the last year, I think. Our tool kind of, I don't know, got out of the infancy phase, I would say, and now it's more like a serious tool with a nice UI also. And yeah, I'm here today, I think, to talk about all the administration, governance, monitoring features that we built. And yeah, so.
It says a lot that you can come on every year and have a new presentation with all the features. I think it says a lot about the tool, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we're almost three full-time, we have almost three full-time developers now on the product. So it's yeah, it's going quite fast, and we're just always looking for new cool stuff to build. And yeah, and so far it has worked out quite well, I have to say.
And as we get started, just as a little bit of house logistics as well, this stream for the people tuning in right now is being simultaneously streamed to Analytic Endeavors, which is where it will be saved, and that's where the comments are turned on. So if you're over at Havens Consulting, you can watch there. But if you would like to interact with us at all in the chat, ask any questions at the very top of the description, right below the video that you're watching right now, go ahead and click that link. That will take you over to Steve and I's Analytic Endeavors YouTube channel where the comments are turned on there, and it can be a more interactive experience for you. So feel free to come over from that channel to this one if you'd like to chat in the live stream chat at all. But otherwise, I think Gregor, for people who maybe aren't familiar with you or any of the stuff that you've been building the last few years, as far as external tools go, would you like to give a bit of an introduction to yourself and kind of what you do within the BI community?
Sure. So Gregor Brunner, from Austria, but moved to Switzerland a couple of years ago. Um, I have a small company that specializes in Power BI and now also Fabric. I've been working with Power BI almost since when it came out. And we kind of stumbled upon the Measure Killer from a client project like 2.5 years ago, I think. And yeah, it was born out of a need during a project, and since then it became a very popular tool, and we have a lot of users now every day. It's in the thousands by now, actually, and it's quite cool to see even all the countries where people are using it. And yeah, so and that's basically the short history.
Excellent. I
Excellent. And
think,
go ahead, Steve.
yeah, I use Measure Killer quite a lot. It'd be good just maybe there's probably a few people who this could be new. Maybe just a quick intro. I know we're gonna look at some of the governance pieces today, but it'd be great just to have a quick intro of the tool, just maybe before we get into the demo. Just
Yeah, so I think now with the latest version out, it's just mainly two use cases, I would say. One is to clean up and optimize your semantic models, so it can check your model and all the connected reports, and it will tell you which part of your model, which columns and measures you are using in any visuals, in any relationships, in any calculation groups. We're basically tracking everything at this point, and it will tell you especially that part of your model that you don't need. So it's not used anywhere, and you can safely kill it. That's where the name comes from, killing those measures and unused measures and columns without breaking anything. That's the whole promise of the tool. And I think we got pretty good at it. It's not perfect. It's very, very complex, but that's probably the main use case. And now, especially over the last year, we built a lot of admin features, like, I don't know, things that are really hard to do with the tools available, like searching for custom visuals in a whole tenant. Like it's really, really tough. Or I don't know. Recently, we added get all the row level security expressions roles and also the assigned users and groups, because I think nobody does that or nobody has that. So we thought, hey, maybe we can contribute something there. So it's those two things I think that our tool can shine, and we're always looking for good ideas also from the community, what to add, what could be cool to have, what is really hard right now, and maybe we can figure it out somehow.
And out of curiosity, as this has continued to like to grow over the last years, has there been any feature that ended up getting added that you wouldn't have thought that would be needed in like a million years, but it ended up being a strong request from customers, the community itself?
It's a good question. Um, hmm. Actually, I think you made a suggestion one time. We had something is used, something is unused, and then we had something is only used in unused stuff. I'll show this
Oh
later, but
yeah,
the
secondarily, yes.
yellow things, that was initially we were not really convinced of this, but that I think was very important also. So thank you for that recommendation, actually. Um, any other thing? I don't know. It has been a lot and you forget stuff. So maybe I don't give enough credit to somebody who might have had a great idea. I just don't remember it right now. But we are looking, we have hundreds of comments in our feedback section on the website. And yeah, people just, send us what they think. And also people reach out on LinkedIn or by email. And so, yeah, I don't know. Steve, what do you think?
Put me on the spot for some new features. No, I mean, I think I've used it a lot. In terms of, I think that unused stuff's very, very good feature here. Sure, with a lot of people, as you go through development of models, especially at the start, tend to have some tests and a lot of stuff. So I normally have a lot of bloat, and it is really, really helpful for that. And just seeing that lineage, I think, has been a real key for me when using it.
Yeah, I can start sharing. I can
Yeah.
open up the latest version and we can take a look at everything. So we also added some fun things actually. Like, yeah, we added some ridiculous quotes from movies. Actually, some of them I don't even know, but Klaus, he's really a big fan of this. And so we added these funny things
What movie
everywhere.
is that for? I wear glasses during math because it improves division.
I don't know. I don't know. This like we have a list of those random quotes, and it always plugs in one or two. Um, Now we have it at the launch screen, like you just saw. So you have something there whenever you have to wait for it to load. Measure killer is the one who knocks. Okay, everybody knows that.
Yep,
Um,
sure.
and I don't know, because people actually really liked it, and that was actually something where I was personally not really convinced at the beginning, but since we can do whatever we want, right? We just at some point I said, hey, all right, this is really good actually. And um, also dark mode was something that actually it's very it took a lot of time to build dark mode, because yeah, the UI has grown a lot, and we have all these windows, and you need to invert the colors and do those kind of things. So the dark mode, I don't know how many people actually use it, but that is something that took us some time, yeah, like weeks. Yeah.
I know the community often has a lot of love for dark mode, so I think you'll make a lot of people happy having a dark mode in there, I'm sure.
And personally, I use dark mode for, on my phone, on everything, But for Power BI, I was never really convinced, or still I'm not really convinced yet. I don't know. Do you guys use dark mode for Power BI?
You know what? I like it in desktop. I think I've gotten so used to the other one that I haven't actually flipped it on.
Mm,
But I do know it was something that was strongly requested from the community in general. But I have a few like system things that I run on my task manager that can almost like the browser plugins. I can actually app by app flip things. So even
okay.
things that don't have dark mode, I still have like pseudo dark mode for a lot of stuff that I've gotten used to toggling.
Yeah. So this is the latest version. We just released this, I think, like a week ago. So this is really our crown jewel. There's nothing more than this. And you can see it has a lot of functionality here. So those are basically the main modes, how you can run this tool, what you can do with it. And we split it now into 2 sections to make it a little more easy also for new users to figure out what the hell is going on here. So we have something for developers. So those are people who have, I would say, either they're just building a report, want to clean it up, want to kick out everything, want to see, I don't know, where like a measure is used in all the visuals or whatever. Um, or people who have access to workspaces, right? You're at least a viewer or a contributor in a workspace in the Power BI service. You want to optimize a shared model there. Those are the developers for us. And then we have the admins. And I think this will be probably what we will talk about a lot today also. Um, yeah, we use different API calls for that to just get more information, basically to get the full picture of a whole Fabric tenant, even looking into personal workspaces and those kind of things that are usually not really visible and a pain for governance and admins especially.
Just out of one quick comment and curiosity. So, like I was talking to Kyle in the comments. So the light and dark mode. The one thing that I like about Power BI Desktop or Office and others is it auto switches with your system settings, which is usually like daytime, night. I like. Yeah, I don't do back end coding. Like, how easy is it to actually identify and have one of those as an option if you wanted to just have it match system setting, like the Windows current configuration?
Right. Actually, I think we never really, I'm not sure if we ever tried that or any of the guys tried that. So yeah, maybe that's something I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, because
Automatic
I use
sync
dark mode at
requests.
night, but like during the day when it's bright, it like I basically my computer like kind of like my phone, it switches between the modes depending on if it's low
Yes.
light or
Yeah.
sunny outside. Yeah.
Yeah. Measure Killer is not that smart yet, but maybe we can build it
I was
easily.
gonna say
I
if
feel
it's
like
one of those like quick wins, yeah.
probably, yeah, probably it is. Um, yeah. We also have something I think that people are using that, but not as much as I had hoped. Like you can try out all. So we have, maybe I should also say this. So the tool has 2 free modes. Those are the offline ones with the cloud crossed out. So this is everything you do in Power BI desktop. So either analyzing a single report or a model, a shared semantic model with live connection in the Power BI service, but you download everything. And then we have a lot of online functionalities. And you can try this out from the UI just by entering your some information, and then you get basically, for example, this here, you can try out, okay, how could I, if I run this in my tenant, I can optimize, or I can take a look at a semantic model with Power BI reports, paginated reports, and even Excel files connected to find everything that is used all across those reports. You can try that out. And you basically, it will show you one of our models. So this
Okay.
basically here, and anybody can do this just to get an idea of what is possible. You can see we even added an Excel file here, but it also finds Power BI and paginated reports and composite models and everything to get a full picture. And then it tells you, right, which columns, the classic things, what is used, which column is used where, and which ones especially are unused. So those are to be removed if you wish. Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna talk about something else today, right? So I don't want to spend too much time with this.
Fair.
So the things we built for admins, especially, is this tenant analysis, I would say. This is really the most powerful thing we have ever built. So this little illustration here is we're analyzing the whole Fabric tenant, not only the Power BI stuff, but also some other artifacts from Fabric. And I'm just going to use this tryout mode because there I have a little subset of our tenant. So you would have to authenticate here, and I can also show this later, how the flow works. Like you just log in with your Microsoft account. But then you will get this initial window here where we have a little summary, a little summary of my tenant, right? So in a huge tenant, you can segregate this. Okay, I just want to only run on my, I don't know, F265, 256 capacity. You can decide on which part of your tenant to run this on, if you want to include the personal workspaces or not. But then it will just show you everything there is. We haven't added all Fabric items yet, but we're getting the ones that are exposed with the scanner API, because that's initially what we do here. So this is already, to some people, very, very interesting because, yeah, a lot of times you're missing stuff, right? People have some artifacts in their personal workspaces and nobody knows what's there. And of course, this requires admin permissions. So you have to be a Power BI administrator, meaning a tenant admin, which is the Fabric administrator role or Power Platform administrator role, to get everything. So that's the ultimate way to make sure you can really find out, I don't know, the lineage of a model. So now I'm just looking into one model and I can see which data flows this semantic model is consuming. And then I can even see which data sources are inside that data flow. And I can see, of course, all the downstream or composite models. Those are the ones doing a direct query connection to the model that you're interested in. And I can see even what's downstream of there and all the reports that are connected, or what's upstream of that. So across all the workspaces, right? That's the idea, to provide full lineage. And then, of course, also just the reports connected to a model directly. So paginated in Power BI. Yeah.
The lineage, I think, is really helpful too, just to be able to see the level of connections upstream and downstream that it has for everything that it's touching, especially certainly within the tenant environment. Because I mean, outside of
Right.
tools like this, the ability to properly assess and clean up a model once it becomes shared, it essentially is impossible. It's one of those, once something goes into it, it never leaves.
Yes. And honestly, I've seen crazy stuff from clients or people who I don't know, got a trial license for us just to get started with the tool. Like, I don't know, 500 reports connected to a model, and then 450 are in personal workspaces. So it's just
God,
huge, huge stuff.
yeah.
Like, and yeah, you cannot stop this. Like, you just, at some point, somebody has to make a call and say, hey, enough is enough. Um, and then that model drains all the resources from the capacity, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really key point here when you're going to a shared capacity like Fabric. I think tools like this become extremely important because that one bad query, I've seen this happen before, where a single query, a single bad model's brought down an entire capacity. And it can be just, a couple of these small things. So I think having a way to assess everything is really, really key here. So.
Right.
And I would say, just as a really quick mention on modeling the capacity limits for people who are using capacities and want to kind of prevent that single model destroying a capacity, a very good split is premium per user for like test and development scenarios for your models, and then premium capacity when they hit production, to hopefully avoid any updates where a model will destroy the the resources of a single capacity, just as I mentioned.
Yeah, premium per user is great. I think it's the best you can get for a really low price because you have huge resources actually. It's
Can we have
what's
Fabric
the
per user
P3?
too? Yeah, like, please, Fabric per
Yeah, well,
user, please.
you can
Come
vote
on.
for it now, right? Marco Russo, I think he
Yeah.
started something.
I mean, we all want it. I mean, it. There's no way it's not going to happen because it's just the natural evolution of things, right? I think for something like that, yeah.
Yeah, but it seems like also premium per user was mostly requested by the community or something, right? I heard some rumors about
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
exactly. Yep.
Anyway, but here we just have a ton of things for, yeah, lineage, also just maybe the workspaces, right? A lot of times, this is also nice to see just what is inside a workspace quickly, and also which users or groups have access. Um, might be useful in some cases, or just where do we have all our data flows, Gen 1, or I don't know. Those activators, I played around with them back in, I don't know, I think when they started being in preview, and I have to say they consume a ton of capacity. It's interesting. I feel like mine, at least, they're not doing anything, but still they're draining my little F2 capacity quite a lot.
Interesting. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I feel like anything inside of data activator or streaming data kind of stuff, like just due to I think the speed at which it has to operate would use a decent amount of resources.
right. Yeah. For me, mostly it's the data flows. We have a tiny tenant. We do have a lot of reports and models, as you can see, but they are not really refreshing or anything. They're just for us to test. And we actually got all those reports and models from custom visual uh, developers. So basically, you can just download all their reports and then just uploaded all of them to our tenant for testing. It's like, yeah, it's like a lot. So it helps us test our tool and see if things go wrong and so on.
Exactly.
Yeah, we also have the data source. Sorry, maybe we have any questions? Should we?
Yes, there was. I was asking for some clarification
Mhm.
from him on it, but let me
Okay.
see if I can stream. There was
Otherwise,
one from, yeah, Garav, if I'm saying that name correctly. Just that he was noticing some scenarios where there might be some identified measures that were being used indirectly. So I was asked
mhm,
if you can respond with it. I was asking for clarification on what these scenarios might be
right.
in terms of that identification. So hopefully I'll get a follow up to this one.
Yeah, because that shouldn't happen. That is pretty straight. That's probably the easiest to find and where
Oh,
the
here we
tool
go.
is most accurate. Um,
So it's, yeah,
yeah.
he indirect is in apparently used in, I guess, only in field parameters, if I'm reading that correctly, and nowhere else. But it
Mhm.
was then identified as or he saw some identified as unused.
Well, actually, so in the tool, all field parameters are used by definition. They're kind of, so we're taking this DMV, the calc dependency. I'm sure you guys
Mhm.
know about this. And in there, they're all like self-reference, like the table is referencing the columns and the other way around. So they all have these self-references for field parameters. So the columns need the table need the columns, and so on. So that's why in Measure Killer, actually, I'm not sure if we have a field parameter. Oh, we have one here. So the field parameter itself, like it uses itself. So every field parameter will be used, but then you can also see if you use one of the field parameter uh, columns, for example, somewhere. So if you really have a case where it might not work correctly, please tell me because that will be news to us. Um, but otherwise, this is so the field parameters to really find out which ones are unused. You actually need to look into them a little more closely and see if they're used anywhere by them besides themselves, because we didn't really want to mess with this logic because it's very complex, and if as soon as we adjust something there, we don't really know all the impacts it could have.
And I think it might
That's
be
why,
not if
yeah,
it's a field parameter is used, it's like a
yeah,
measure that is in a field parameter, but nowhere
right,
else.
yeah. No, it should still be tracked, but please, if you have any case, put it on the blog, send me an email or something through LinkedIn. That would be great to
Yeah,
get
if
some insight.
exactly to grab.
Yeah.
So like said, use their I'm assuming there's a contact or support button somewhere in here to send you a
Yeah,
message if you
yeah,
wanted to say like file a ticket or anything like that. So
yes,
um
yes.
yeah,
Feedback
where
here.
is the best location? Yeah, so if you have an exact scenario you can describe to them and help them identify any of these, please feel free to send them a message as well. Specifically, if you have a case scenario of a measure in a field parameter that is marked as unused when it shouldn't be.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'll say it's very helpful, I think, when people report any bugs
Uh-huh.
for developers, right? So if you do see anything, definitely help out and please report. That goes with any external tool as well.
Right. Yeah, we also have this data source lineage here. So this goes a level up. So here we see all the connections that we have in our tenant. So they're only segregated by gateway. So if you have one connection in two gateways, it will show up double here. Otherwise, you just see, for example, like here are analysis services instance, you can see all the models that are connected, or even if this is like a paginated report directly connected to Azure Analysis Services. And then you can also just see all, yeah, whatever is impacted. So this is especially for like, I don't know, change management and something in the data source, in the database, whatever. We also have, yeah, some, I don't know what this is. So this is probably from some either testing reports or custom visuals that you can see here. They used some kind of on-prem SQL server, and then it will show up here because the connection gets uploaded with the semantic model. Yeah. Then we have the access tab. So I think this is very, very interesting. Here you will see all the users and groups that you have in Power BI or Fabric. So that means they're assigned to any artifact or any workspace. As soon as you add them somewhere there, we will get them here. And then you can see this security group, for example, has access to 5 workspaces with those rights, but also it has access to all those models because of either the workspaces or it might be given access directly to a model or to a report and so on. Yeah.
Just responding to a message in the chat.
And of course, we also have the personal, like individual users here. You can see what they have access to as well. Or if you just want to have the other side of the coin, like similar to what we saw before, just workspace by workspace, who has access to what. And we can also then go down into more detail here. For example, I can see all the reports. So if somebody gave somebody else permissions on the report itself, we can also see that here. And that's especially interesting in the personal workspaces. So now I'm going to filter for personal workspaces. And if I open this up, like the whole next level, now I can see who is basically sharing a report out of their own personal workspace with other folks. Those are actually highlighted here. So you can see, yeah, it's those two. So this is a report in my personal workspace, and I shared it with Klaus, and he even has reshare rights. So since you can also export this kind of stuff, you can really do some deep dive into what's happening. And this might be very interesting for the admins, especially, I think.
I'll say this view is very nice. If anyone's ever try to get this information from the APIs themselves or look through. I think we all know it can be difficult to get to. So really
Right.
appreciate the UI on this. It's much one of the easiest I've seen to dive into this stuff.
And Microsoft's
The only
very good at providing the Lego set, but not actually like putting the pieces together. Expecting you to.
Yeah. Yeah, personal workspaces are still, I think, one of the biggest troublemakers in a
Oh,
lot
for
of
sure.
organizations. The only thing here, of course, you need to also know what you're looking for. So there you might have to build up some know-how. Like for example, here I have all the models, and then, well, like what am I gonna look for? And in my case, I'm gonna look for the build permissions. So for example, it's just called read explore. That's the official or the behind curtain term, the technical term. And then I can see all the models that somebody or some group was given build permissions. So and yeah, and now I can see which security group that is. And of course, in a larger tenant, you'll get a huge output here. And then you can see if this is intended or in some cases maybe, yeah, you don't want to do that. So this is something else you can find here. And of course, we have other stuff, but yeah, just want to show what's possible.
Just from an admin perspective, there's a lot of useful features outside of just well past just scrubbing a shared semantic model in any capacity. So just having this as a management tool is certainly really useful.
Right.
Just wanted to mention that Kyle just has a positive comment on this as well, where he ended up actually recently rebuilding the access piece of a lot of this stuff by hand because he didn't know they already had it. So appreciation for creating kind of this tenant level management view for sure.
Right. One of the coolest tabs in the tenant analysis, so this is we call it tenant analysis, is the models tab. You can see here that I have a bunch of models, not too many. I can just see, yeah, name of the model, where they are, and here it's sorted by the size. So that's also very interesting. The biggest ones are on top, and then we have a couple of columns I think that are very interesting, like the number of queries or tables that you have in your model, number of columns. So here we can see one has 170 columns. Oh, it's all right. Calculated columns. So if I have 90 calculated columns in my model, you can already see here at the end, it says awful, the best practice violation score. This is like a fun, fun
Power BI
way.
criminal.
Yes. So it
Wow.
goes from Power BI Pro to Power BI Criminal on
funny.
the best practice level. We're basically using the Microsoft BPA rules, and then we have our own little logic. It's also explained somewhere. I'm not sure if it is explained here actually. It has its own logic, but it goes from Power BI Pro, then good, okay, poor, awful, and Power BI Criminal is blood red. You can also customize those, so you can decide which rules are important to you and which ones you don't care about. And of course, for every model, you can also see where exactly that rule is violated. So you can even export this, and then you can use, for example, tabulator to fix it, to improve the model. But of course, yeah, a number of calculated columns and all those violations add up. And then you can basically, yeah, see who is doing well and who is not. Also, for example, local date tables, I'm not sure if we do have them here. So you can see all the models in the tenant that have local date tables. And you also see the size of them, right? So if they have like 100 megabytes worth of local date tables in a model, then I would definitely get in touch with this person to say, hey, please don't mess up our capacity because of this thing, or why are you doing that? at least asking maybe.
As we're going through a few of this, I did have a question actually from Kyle on would it be possible to make an easier way to create or modify like any kind of BPA rules that would be specific to the org in terms of some of these flags that we're showing here?
Yeah, so the issue we have faced with making your own rule, that was really tough to do. It would have been hundreds of hours of work probably. So the way it works right now is that you can in the settings define which rules you want to apply, but we're just taking the ones that Microsoft offers, and we don't give you the chance yet to um, to do it yourself, basically. So that is something I have heard before, I have to say. Sorry, I opened the wrong one. I've heard before, and maybe we'll have to take a look at that again. I don't know. It seems like people would really like that. Yeah, so
Because you'd have to somehow translate like the front end like simplified rule request, but they don't have to code whatever that is to scan across and you know and properly do that in the back end though. So you'd need
yeah,
like almost a simplified language or UI
yes.
to write the rule that translates into whatever code is necessary for it.
Yeah, yeah. That was a roadblock so far.
One thing you could potentially do is maybe as an easy starting point is the rules that are already in there that has the score that's you know good, okay, or bad is giving people the option just to adjust the threshold of labeling. So you know maybe like 5%
Yeah.
goes from like okay to poor, but somebody wants to set that at 10% or something like that.
Yeah, that might be an idea as well. We didn't get so much. The most things we heard was really about, can I make my own rules? That's the only thing I heard so far. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's I guess the big one. We also have the refreshes here, right? That's quite interesting as well. Is it a successful refresh? The last one, was it successful or has it failed? And of course, the refresh duration. So if I work in a client tenant and I run this, I look at, biggest models, the average refresh duration, and then also I want to see the worst models. And of course, I mentioned this needs admin permissions, right? Well, who's gonna give me admin permissions? That was one of the problems we've had since we ever built this, that, well, you only have 1 or 2 admins or 3 or 4 or maximum 5 admins, even in a huge company. What about all the other people, right? And that's why we actually built this limited tenant analysis for developers. And this gives you almost the same as this one. It's just with normal permissions to workspaces, you can run it. And the only tab that you don't get, and I can just show you. So now I'm doing it live. It gives me all the workspaces that I have access to. I'm just gonna select 2 or 3 to show you. And then the only thing I don't have here now is the access tab. This is always gonna be empty because we just cannot get that. But everything else will be available here. I'm just gonna start the advanced run. So this is to get all the metadata for the models and so on, and this will just take a minute or so. But this is especially like, this is just, we have like suddenly so many more people that can take advantage of this. And I'm also using that for client projects sometimes because, you know, for example, I get a question, hey, you built a couple reports and models for us, like in the client environment. Where are you using that view? Where are you using this view? And I'm like, okay, what I used to do was open up Measure Killer, run one model, check the M code because we can search all the M code at once here, and then run a second model, again, search all the M code because I don't know exactly where a view or table, you have to remember it, you have lots of queries, right? And this can do that. So that's one of the use cases for me also in other where I'm not an admin, it opens up some new possibilities.
Considering you guys throw like little jokes and Easter eggs in there, I could almost imagine like somewhere in this list of running items have like decoupling the transducer flux capacitor or something.
Yeah,
Throw a little like making it very clear, like so people don't actually get confused by it. Like somehow identifying that as like a fun line of code, but throwing little Easter egg quotes in the middle of the list could also be an entertaining way to add some fun in there.
it's a good idea. Yeah, true. Yeah, so basically here, that's what I was referring to. I can search all the M code of the models I have access to. So here I can search for, I don't know, a certain view or whatever. I don't know, dev something, and then it will show me all the queries. If they're loaded or not, it doesn't matter. We get all the unloaded queries as well. And then I can just see, yeah, in which models I'm using that. And I don't need to be a tenant admin. I can just run it on the models that I have access to. And also get this nice list here, and everything else that we have in tenant analysis.
I think that's a very powerful view, and I see that being very useful for people checking. People aren't connecting to things they shouldn't, or maybe there's some tables that we don't want people to connect directly to, sending super databases. So I think that's a really, really cool feature. That one, it's a new one that I've not used before. So very cool.
Yeah, we just released this actually with 2.5, so this is just came out last week.
Really well.
Yeah,
Shiny new feature, yeah.
Exactly. It has one other. So here in the data flows, we don't have the refresh schedule. You can see for the models we have the refresh schedule, even though all the models I just ran on don't have any. But here we couldn't get the refresh schedule. So only the admins in the other mode, the tenant analysis for admins, only there we have the refresh schedule for data flows. And of course, this access tab doesn't exist here if you're not a tenant admin, but everything else is basically the same. Yeah.
One thing that I like about the semantic models, obviously the refresh is very helpful. Do you think you ever have you have the last refresh? Do you have access to kind of go history to have, you've had 1-2 refreshes failed in the last X amount of days or something like that?
Yeah, actually, let me see. So this is a model that refreshes every day. So you can see, first of all, I can go down, I can see the tables, I can see how many columns. We actually cut it down here. We used to have all the columns there, but performance-wise, it was not really smart to do that. So I can just see some stuff, and then if I right-click, I can get some really nice metadata. I can even, I don't know, get some stuff here. Okay, I can get the workspace ID. I can see the refresh. Well, I can see, I don't know, some storage mode small. I can get a lot of the metadata on this model. And I can also see the refresh events. So here you can see the history and also how it was refreshed. In this case, it's through Power Automate. I think that's why it says through API. So we get the last 30 refreshes or whatever is the standard you can get. Yeah.
Very nice.
We also have this. Klaus is a huge fan. He's our lead developer. He's a huge fan of these little plots. I think they're so ugly because I'm used to Power BI. But I have to say that they're also kind of cool because, yeah, at least they show you some graphical illustration of things, you know. So here I can just see, yeah, in the last few days, a little chart of the refresh events. Let me see if I have anything else. This says one. We don't have that many models that refresh regularly, I think. Yeah, here you can also see some fail. It was on demand. Let's see if we, sorry, I'm just if we have a little more, there's nothing here. Anyway, but so if you right click on stuff in Measure Killer, you should always try this out. Actually, there's a lot of hidden things. Yeah, like the best practices. I already showed this. Yeah.
Hidden gems in the context menu.
Yes, exactly. Because we cannot put everything in the UI. You know, this has to work on 10,000 models, on 50,000 models. Like this is really meant to run at scale, and it really runs very, very fast. In our tenant with the 800 models and reports, it takes around 20 minutes to run the full scan, meaning I get all the DAX expressions, all the M expressions, all the row level security. In this case, actually, in those models, there is no row level security. So I'm going to switch back to the sample I have prepared. So here, for example, this is, this thing we just added with row level security, where you can see the rows, the expression, and the assigned members and groups. And this was really, for me, wow, I didn't know that this is somehow possible, because I didn't know that this is, you can ever get this in any way, but the guys kind of figured it out.
Out of curiosity, what's the largest tenant you've ever run this against? Or better said, that you've known a client to run against.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. You know, I don't see the whole thing usually, but it's like in the tens of thousands of models and reports. Yeah. And
Yeah,
usually they
it's
don't
a
have.
good sized enterprise client.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, like they have a couple, like some people have a couple of P5s, and for me that was like, it's just crazy. Like, you know, but a lot of times also we don't hear about it. We just, yeah, at some point maybe somebody gives us a little hint, but the screen sharing sessions, of course, with clients, those are a lot of times eye-opening. You're like, wow, like you have so many reports connected to this model, and like I said, they were all in personal workspaces. Or another client, they had the best practice in their organization was that they built everything in personal workspaces. I was like, what? So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff, you know. But yeah, it's in the tens of thousands, so it has to be stable, and it has to be. We actually even built to hide some tabs here, because if you have tens of thousands of items in one of the tabs, it might slow down a little bit. So you can also hide them. But it can get pretty crazy. And I also think that the ones that are getting in touch with us are the ones who have the most problems, probably because they're feeling the pain, you know.
Yep, that's fair.
It's been a thing with Microsoft. I've seen a lot, right? That Microsoft make it so easy to do Power BI. That's really great, and then everyone gets their hands on Power BI. That sometimes then IT have to play a bit of catch up in order to then sort of figure out how to do the governance, and sometimes by the time that's happened, you get some of this kind of sprawling reports and models and a lot going on. So I think tools like this are definitely needed, and needed early on would be my recommendation.
Yep.
We have one more. Well, actually, here I also have the refresh events, I think. But so we also have the reports, and I think this can be also very interesting, because we have seen reports with like 1,000 something visuals, and you're just thinking like, wow, okay.
Not on one page, hopefully.
No, the biggest page I think had 267 visuals. Still a lot, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think like 250, 350 I've seen on a few. It's usually when they start going, it's either because of bookmarks, or they create a custom tall page that's scrollable. And then like, why does this page take like 60 seconds to load? Yeah, because you have a scrollable page. It's not Power BI is not built to do that. It doesn't
Yeah,
render as you
that's
scroll.
exactly. That was a big thing, right? A lot of people, especially like for embedded and those things, people said, "Hey, let's just do one page, make it 10,000 pixels high or long, and then let's just put everything there." And it's not a good idea, even though it might be like fancy UI, it looks cool, you know. But oof,
Mhm.
yeah. But here, for me at least, the biggest value is in the custom visuals. So you don't only have them per report, but I haven't showed this yet, but you can also export like on all the DAGs, all the AM, all the row level security, user access rights, and so on. And of course, also the custom visuals to just get a list of all custom visuals in everything that you scanned or everything there is. And we also have a little tag if they're certified or not. So yeah, that's because a lot of organizations, maybe they want to move to like organizational visuals, or they just have no idea and are worried about some security implications with uncertified visuals and so on. So that can also help. You can also see that we have the views here. So we also went a little bit into the consumption area, showing which reports all across the tenant are being consumed how often. So for that, we're actually fetching the, now I have to authenticate. Um, let's see if there's actually, this is going to work because, so we also get report views. And you can also see who is viewing the report and when and so on. So that can all be exported.
Mhm.
And we're always getting the last 30 days, but it's building up a full database in the background so that you can have a whole year potentially at some point if you run it every month.
The history certainly would be really nice to be able to get that much out of here.
Yes. You mean like this, something like this, views per day, or
That's nice. Yeah. I do like that you just have a very lightweight just chart version. If you without having to export this and stick it into Power BI or something, you can at least get some quick
yeah.
graphs and charts that do the job for what you needed to do, right?
Yes, exactly. And the other thing that we're doing here is tracking the Excel users. This is especially relevant for where we try to optimize a model because Measure Killer will find for that scenario all the connected Power BI reports and page unit reports automatically and also get the metadata for those automatically. But what about the Excel users? They're doing this on their computer, right? Nobody knows about them potentially. So we're getting the activity logs to see who is doing Excel, analyzing Excel on top of which Power BI model. And then we have two activities there. One is creating the Excel file, which is basically when you, I'm just gonna show you this real quick. So when you hit this, it will trigger this activity to create the Excel, analyze an Excel file. And then every time you refresh, it's a separate activity. And we're just exposing that because we need that to optimize those golden data sets or shared models. Because the idea then is that you will reach out to those people, you copy their email addresses, you send them an email and say, hey guys, I know that you're doing Excel on top of this model that we're cleaning up. You finance, you controlling folks, we know that you're doing Excel, we've seen it. Please send us the Excel file so I can make sure they won't break down because something could only be used in that Excel file, right?
Out of just curiosity, so did you build a report off of IMDb?
Mm-hmm. You want to see it?
Nice. Sure. I just public data sets and stuff are fun. So I saw like, oh, it looks like you built a movie report.
Yeah, we actually have a couple of reports here. I think this one is quite cool. Oh, actually, there's something broken here, but yeah, This is basically showing that movies are getting worse over time. But
So what was peak? Was the peak one 1999? That's my guess.
I don't remember.
Because I'm assuming
The
like
number
each of
of
those columns
movies.
is a year, right? Each of those, or
Yes. Well, this is the rating. This is the average
ah,
rating. So the average rating is like, I guess, 6.2. Well, this is a
oh, so you'd have to click a year down on the bottom axis for that okay, okay.
yes. And I think, well, actually here the average rating. Not sure when this has been refreshed the last time, but you can see that it's actually going up now. So I don't know. I haven't I haven't looked at this in years, but
No
uh,
worries.
yeah,
That's
the
fun though.
number of movies is also really interesting. It's collapsing
I
here
didn't realize
because
we
those
started
were.
making that much more. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think in the 2000s it went up like crazy. You can see per year it just completely exploded, and then I don't know, here during COVID, I guess it just collapsed. And then here it's
It
just
went back
dropping
up.
because those were the planned movies. Whenever
Ah,
I
yeah,
pulled this data, that's why they already have them like 10 years in advance or something. But yeah,
yeah. Sorry to sidetrack you, but the cool
that's
report.
good.
It's fun just to look at metadata like that. So
Yes, exactly.
We're
The
yeah, we get a bit of love for your Excel piece here in the comments. And I think that's really really great as well. I'm a huge fan of making Analyze and Excel available to people. There is a big gap though. You can't see from the Fabric portal kind of who's using this and how they're using. So yeah, I'm
Right.
echoing where in the comments that this is a really really interesting piece to be able to see from a monitoring, but just also a usage and a just to get who's using reports, how well are they being used. So
Yes, true. The next thing we have here, I think we still have time, right? Am I
oh
taking
yeah,
too
yeah.
much time? Okay.
We have a soft 30. So for questions or for you to wrap up, like there's no hard stop.
Okay.
So we can end organically.
So we have also all the DAX expressions, and I know this is gonna be crazy. Like you have millions of measures and calculated columns expressions, calculated table expressions, whatever. Um, but we thought, hey, still it might be useful. So of course the UI can only take so much, but even for the 1,000 models that I have, which multiplies into hundreds of thousands of measures and calculated columns, it can handle it quite well. Of course, then, yeah, what are you gonna do with it, right? So we can search stuff. So I don't know. I can just, I don't know, if I want to see who is doing the good old filter, or I want to search for something very, very specific, I can do that, and I will get all the expressions that have that in the code somehow. This is just a full text search, of course. But it might be interesting in some cases, like, I don't know, yeah, where am I still using it today? Maybe I wanna, I don't know, change something here, or I'm using, I don't know. It really depends. For some people, this is really interesting. For some others, it's like, I don't know what to do with it.
Does that
But
duplicate DAX expression? Oh, I was just about to ask, like, will
yes,
that actually will that
yes.
similar tabular editor push that to the model or?
So
Oh
this
no,
just
that's an identif. Go ahead. Yeah, I
yes,
see.
exactly, exactly. So it's identifying exactly, well, it's not actually exactly the same expression. We take out the white space, we take out the comments, and then we say, okay, this is exactly the same expression, take everything taken out. And you have the multiple measures. So those three measures have all the same expression, even though they have different names. And this is just for inside one model. But I can do the same thing on the whole tenant. And so now I will get across all the models, I can see this is just a random function, obviously, as you can see. But still here I can say, okay, this is used in those measures, in those models, and so on. And so this can be really, really interesting, I think. Um, And here you can also see how it works, right? That it takes out the comment and then but it's still a duplicate. Because some people, they want to have the same expression for calculating exactly the same KPI. And then here they can check, oh, are people really, it should be a duplicate. It should be calculated exactly like this. And some other people are like, hey, we don't want to have duplicates because we only want to have one and everybody should use that. So, yeah.
So we
I
do
think
have a.
I was just going to mention on the identify and duplicate DAX measures, which is, it was you or somebody else, I remember a couple years ago having a conversation on this, but I like the fact that you take out the comments as well. So like you try to look for the actual code and shared aspects for that. I could almost imagine like something else as well, where like maybe it's not an exact match, but like if it was like 98% the same or something like that, or similar enough that it would at least merits you to look at it with your eyes. I would be interested to know if there is like a fuzzy match option or something like that.
I always wanted to do something like this, like things that are basically the
Yeah.
same.
Yep.
We haven't done that yet, but this, I think, will come. We just don't know yet exactly. We're no real DAX experts, I would say. So, yeah, it's hard to find those, syntax sugar exact duplicates, but we're slowly building this out. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because like as you mentioned, there's a little bit of that gray area which starts to lean on the other tools. Like if you're gonna not now start calling out like not just that they're matching, but like, oh, it's a bad practice to have a naked calculate, meaning like there's no filter, but other tools are meant to optimize DAX.
Yes, yes, we don't.
Outside of this, but like for you, just simply identifying things to delete, or even if you could someday do that against like Power Query, and having a, because like that's one thing that I've wished for a few years now is at a tenant level, I'd love to be able to scan across and like look for similar M code queries that are maybe being duplicated. Like, if there's 4 data flows that are running nearly the same exact query, or at least a good chunk of it, there might be opportunity to like split half that query apart that's shared, move it upstream to like another data flow, and then like have both, downstream data flows connected or something.
You could do that in the M expressions tab to some extent, but you can see that, of course, it's just a text search, but you will find those chunks here, of course. So here you can do that to some extent. So if you look for some unique things that are only in that data flow and the duplicate ones, this might be able to help you a little bit with that because you get all the M expressions tenant wide from all the semantic models and the data flows.
Exactly. Okay. No, that's useful to know then. And one question from James, I'm going to pop up. He's wanting to know if you offer any discounted pricing either for like educational, nonprofit, or not-for-profit sectors or orgs.
Yeah, so we actually we have a couple of NGOs on that. Now that Power BI, sorry, now that Microsoft is also taking away this huge discount, I'm also reconsidering because we gave it away for a very, very low price. But yes, there is a discount right now still. So yeah, if you want to reach out, we can also every company can also get a 1 month free trial from us, basically. So you can always get a trial and try out all those features. The only thing that doesn't work in the trial are the exports because, yeah, we have to cut it down somewhere. But you can do everything by at least. Yeah.
Then following up, we have another comment here. This comment saying that the leaders approved, a couple of other external tools. They just want a bit more convincing for Measure Killer. And is there any material to help persuade them?
Yeah, so actually, so this is obviously a desktop application, and we have a security white paper. I can send you this. Just send me an email or something, or a message on LinkedIn or somewhere. That white paper really outlines that the tool doesn't track or do anything, basically. So whatever you do in the application stays either on your client or it gets transmitted through the API calls to Microsoft. So it's either directly between you and Microsoft, or it stays on your local machine. We don't know anything about how you use the tool. The only thing we know is when you open it up, we check for a license, and basically we see like an IP address and so on. But after that, nothing is monitored or anything. We don't even process any data, and so that's why I think it's very, very secure and very hands-off. And yeah, I can also show you this document. You can forward it to your IT sec team for review and so on.
Excellent.
Excellent. All right.
One
And
other,
just really, I was just going to mention, as you're wrapping up, just as a reminder for people in the chat, if you have any remaining questions, feel free to try to give the consulting pop over here to ask them. And if you're already in the Analytic Endeavors chat, drop them in to the comments here, as we'll be wrapping up here in a few minutes. Go ahead, Gregor.
so one other thing that we also have something for analysis services, but I think I just want to mention that. But one thing that we built that I think a lot of people have not seen yet is, for example, either in tenant analysis or any other mode for that matter, when you run the tool, you do something, you run an analysis, you can save this as a, it's still new, but in most cases it works. It saves a .measurekiller file to your computer. And then what you can do is anybody can load that file back. And here you can see I have a file for my whole tenant, which is 800 megabytes. And I only run the scan once, I save it, and then I open this file, or I could send this file to somebody else. That's also a way to get around the permissions, or if you run on a huge model with, I think, 50,000 columns and measures, it will take hours. So then you can save this output, and either for yourself, you're going to continue tomorrow, or you send it to a colleague or somebody else helping you clean it up or analyze your tenant. You can load this file back into the tool. Here you can see it takes a little bit of time because it's 800 megabytes. It's a big file, but then you have all this here, and you don't even have to log in or anything. It's just in the UI. You can export, you can check everything. I can now see the duplicate expressions on the whole tenant. I can see all the models with row level security. I can see hundreds of models. I can search their M code. So this is just a really nice way to work together with other people and basically export the work you're doing, not just the findings, but also to have everything available without running again.
That's really nifty. Okay. What's
That also works for the
also
free
just
version and
Armageddon
everything.
workspace? I was just
Oh
noticing one
yeah,
of the names.
yes. This is one of the worst models that we have. We put it there. Yeah. So
The one thing that I'll never mention whom, but thankfully working with enough clients, there's a few that I was able to essentially just grab the metadata from and use it as an example in a few different tools that have worked quite well on running external tools through the trenches for sure.
right.
My worst perpetrator was one that has 114 pages.
Wow.
Yep. Across
Is there
all
a
of those, I
limit?
think collectively there's like 2,000 visuals or something, because like each page has like dozens and dozens and dozens, and then you multiply that by a few 114
Yeah.
pages. That's actually a great question. I don't know if there is a
Right.
limit to the number of pages. I would really hope no one has hit it.
Yeah, I've seen something in the Power BI community forum the other day that somebody was able to have no page. Never seen that before. I don't know. It must be some crazy bug, but just didn't have any pages anymore. You just deleted the one page that you have to have. Put a
I bet
screenshot
you
there.
could. I can't imagine you can do it in desktop because desktop will not let you. But
It
I
was in
do wonder
desktop, I
if
think.
you. Well, no, yeah, that would be a bug then. But I would
Yes.
imagine maybe what you could do is using a tool like, if you're editing the Timdal or if you edited the file structure without opening Power BI Desktop, I think you could probably delete the page and have it empty. But I do know that that's one of those limitations that eventually they want to get rid of, is because you don't need a page if you have if the file is just for modeling. So I think
Right.
there's been a lot of community requests to like eventually get rid of that requirement, or the fact that you have to publish a report with your model if you're using desktop, and then you have to go delete the report page every time, because that it still leads to a non-perfect scenario of separate model and report files if you're managing it from a PBIX perspective.
True, true. Yeah, that's possible. Actually, one thing that is coming, I haven't mentioned that yet, is an automation tab. This has been one of the most requested features since the beginning. People want to use this programmatically and so on. It has been very complex for us to provide like an API call. This is also not going to be that, but we will provide some kind of UI automation in the sense that you can run this, you can set your parameters, and you can like define a schedule, and you just let it run on that VM, and it will do some analysis, I don't know, save the output somewhere. So it will do something on its own on a unsupervised virtual machine, for example. So that's one way for us to solve the requirements for this automation.
See that being very, very useful, and especially with that history that you were talking about, having that default of 30 days, so building up that history and getting some proper logs that go back. So that would be very, very cool to see.
Yeah, it's not perfect, unfortunately, but we'll release a first version of this like in a month or two. So
Awesome.
we'll see. Yeah.
And some takeaways for either testing out a trial, resources, getting a chance to learn a bit more about this. Where would you suggest people start if they're either looking to potentially use this, try to get it some buy-in from a manager, or just explore a little bit more of the features themselves?
Yeah, of course, I would start with the free version. You can just run it on Power BI Desktop. You can see the main UI, how it works. And then I would suggest to try out the paid modes. So here you have a little explanation of all the paid features, like a shared model in the service where we have all kinds of things connected to the model, or even tenant analysis. And anybody can run this. Just you will get our data. So that's the catch. And if you're fine with this, or you got an idea, then of course you can also request a trial. This will just go to a little form, put in your name, email address, and so, and then you can get a free trial from us. It's just important to put in business email and also the company name. Some people we don't want to give trials to people who don't put any company and just private personal email addresses. That's not gonna work. We need a little bit from you also for that.
It's fair, yeah.
But then you can use all the features on your data, because this one has our data, of course, to try out. But then you can use it on your data without the export, but still you're gonna get a lot of value out of it, and of course you could be able to see if you like it.
And as you mentioned too, I definitely understand the need for having at least some type of domain associated email or something, just
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, you'd end up with, I'm assuming thousands, if not tens of thousands of Gmail installs otherwise.
exactly. And the tool has grown quite a lot, especially over the last 6 months, so that we're now in the thousands and thousands every day. And that's why also, it gets more to manage the whole thing. So we have to be a little more restrictive here.
And there's a few things that I'll say. Let me actually pop this back to this one. There we go. On there's definitely a few tools that I would continue to pay for, which are like, tabular editor is always going to be worth it. Certainly, you're one of them as well. But like there's a few tools that have regular circulation on my audit list when it comes to like a client gives me a file, like it's bad, make it good. Like what's bad? I don't know, but please fix it. And that, as an external consultant, especially, that is a common scenario. And this is the easy, like one of the fastest easy button tools for a single or a shared data set. I can just click a button and there you go. I just trimmed your model down from 600 to about 140 megabytes because you imported a fact table with 95 columns and you're using 12 of them.
Yes, I think optimization is such a big topic. It's very complex. You need to know a lot. In the general Power BI sphere, you have to be an expert to really do a good kind of optimization. And also you have to know maybe the model and everything. And just kicking out all the unused columns and measures is a very cheap, quick way of maybe getting a quick win, So that's what I always think we should do first when you inherit something or when you're trying to clean something up, and then maybe go to the more complex, more time-consuming parts of optimization.
I think with optimization, there's it's not just about having quicker reports. There's a real financial cost against having unoptimized models that are on a fabric capacity, eating up licensing and eating up space. So there is that, make your users happy with quicker reports. It's going to make maintenance easier for one going forward, and then the actual dollars and financial cost against it. So I think I agree. It's one of the biggest parts, I think, for a lot of developers that you can get good optimization. That's really you'll see a lot of gains through that and a lot of return on investment in looking at those areas.
Exactly. Excellent. Any other closing remarks as we wrap up today, Gregor?
Since I think I've also heard this from you a little bit, I just want to show something that maybe also not everybody knows yet about Measure Killer. So if I just run it on a simple file on my computer, basically just a free version, we have this one-click optimization. This is still a new feature, but here we can also take advantage of PBIP structures, Power BI projects. Here, I don't have to I don't have to kill stuff through here. I don't have to modify the M code one by one. If I have a PBIP file, I can just hit this, and then it will create a new PBIP file with everything taken out, including the calculated tables. All the M code has been modified. This is, of course, you have to, you have a backup by default since it creates a new PBIP, but this is like the quick way to just take out everything unused. You have a new model, and you can see if everything is still working, hopefully. But that is just really the cheapest, quickest thing you can do. And if you have a PBIP, it's good. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to give that a try as well too. Excellent.
It also works in the Power BI service, of course, but there is just so much more risky since we're writing to the model, to the XMLA endpoint. So doing it locally makes a little more sense, I would say.
Agreed. There we go. That's back here. Very cool then. No, I think this has been a good review of both the existing capabilities that you had in Measure Killer, but then a lot of certainly the new stuff that you guys have managed to continue to put out in the last year. So it's nice to continue to watch this grow, certainly as the Fabric platform expands, and this keeps in step to allow for further monitoring, optimization, and all the other integrations that you're leaning further into with all these service integration features.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, very, very cool. We got a lot of love in the comments as well. There's a lot of positive stuff about Measure Killer, and really appreciative on how many new features and all the new stuff in the latest release. So yeah, looking forward to the next time you're on with Reed and myself, and hopefully a whole lot of new features. keep going.
For
So
sure.
excellent, really, really cool how it's going.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, Gregor, thanks for coming on. We'll see you next time you're on, and otherwise, have a great weekend as well.
You too. Thank you. See you
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.
All right, everyone, and take care.